All right. Uh, for those who were here yesterday, I have roughly 30 minutes before I need to start going to work. But yesterday we figured out that the cast vote or like the vote calculation is wrong, and we also found a lot of errors. Admittedly, I've been generating a lot of code, and it looks like it needs a lot of cleanup because I'm not too happy with it. The issue is with if I leave the code as it is, I can get it working. But if I don't clean it up in 6 months' time, I will need to clean it up more, or like it will introduce bugs for me. And it's already causing issues because if you have an LLM will read your code base and then extrapolate from what you already have. And it turns out that um, we, all right, that's not going to turn out. When you
When you
extrapolate
extrapolate
from a
from a
code
code
base
base
that
that
already
already
has
has
um, like
like
ease
ease
code
code
that
that
it's
it's
easy to
easy to
make
make
mistakes
mistakes
with,
with,
you
you
will
will
end up
end
with
up with
more
more
code
code
that
that
it's
it's
easy to
easy to
make
make
mistakes
mistakes
with.
with.
So
So you will diverge and create even more,
make it
make it
harder
harder
for you
for
to
you to
use an
use an
LLM
LLM
and
and
make it
make it
harder for
harder
you
for
to
you to
use it.
use it.
So
So
we
we
need
need
to
to
fix
fix
it
it
so
so
that it
that it
works,
works,
but we
but we
also
also
need to
need to
do a
do a
refactoring.
refactoring.
So
So
I
I
hope
hope
in
in
these
these
25
25
minutes that
minutes
I
that I
have
have
now
now
that we
that
will
we will
get it
get it
working.
working.
And
And
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure
sure
if
if
I'll
I'll
record the
record the
refactoring,
refactoring,
but I
but I
do
do
have a
have a
lot of
lot of
refactoring
refactoring
to
to
do.
do.
Um, so
So let's
let's get
get
into
into
it.
it.
So
So
if you
if you
didn't see
didn't
it
see it
yesterday,
yesterday,
what I
what I
am
am
working
working
on
on
is
is
this is
this is
Gold Path.
GoldPath.
It's an
It's an
empty
empty
dashboard,
dashboard,
and I'm
and I'm
working on
working
a
on a
feature
feature
where
where
you
you
can
can
currently
currently
you can
you can
have
have
developers
developers
working
working
in
in
this,
this,
and
and
you'll
you'll
it's
it's
sort of
sort of
like
like
a
a
automated
automated
Scrum
Scrum
Master.
Master.
It'll
It'll
calculate your
calculate your
velocity.
velocity.
It'll
It'll
help you
help
with
you with
stand
stand
up. Da
up.
da
Da da
da.
da.
But
But
what I
what I
want
want
as
is as
well is
well
to
is to
get
get the
stakeholders in
stakeholders in
here
here
so
so
that
that
they
they
can
can
share their
share their
opinion
opinion
of
of
what
what
is
is
important
important
and
and
what's
what is
not.
not.
And
And
they can
they can
do
do
that
that
with a
with a
voting
voting
feature.
feature.
And this
And
is
this is
based
based
on
on
how
how
I've
I've
been
been
working
working
with
with
stakeholders
stakeholders
in
in
three
three
different
different
companies
companies
now
now
to
to
sort of
sort of
align
align
different
different
stakeholders
stakeholders
because
because
they
they
do
do
have
have
different
different
goals, or
goals
they
or they
will
will
prioritize
prioritize
differently
differently
depending on
depending on
who
who
you
you
ask.
ask.
And
And
to
to
sort of
sort of
align
align
them, I
them,
hope a
a
voting
voting
exercise
exercise
actually
actually
works.
works.
So to
So
do
to do
that,
that,
I've I'm
I'm
adding a
adding a
voting
voting
feature.
feature.
So
So
you
you
can,
can,
for
for
a
a
project, you
project, you
can
can
have
have
prioritization
prioritization
settings.
settings.
I
I
basically
basically
added
added
the
the
four
four
most
most
common
common
ones,
ones,
or
or
like
like
three of the
three of the
most
most
common
common
ones,
ones,
and
and
then
then
the
the
one
one
that
that
I'm
I'm
actually
actually
promoting. You
promoting.
have
You have
impact
impact
versus
versus
effort,
effort,
right
right
scoring,
scoring,
Moscow,
Moscow,
and then
and then
weighted
weighted
scoring.
scoring.
Now,
And
I
I
personally
personally
prefer
prefer
weighted
weighted
scoring
scoring
because
because
it's
it's
easier to
easier to
get
get
stakeholder
stakeholder
buy-in to
buy-in to
weighted
weighted
scoring
scoring
if
if
you
you
can
can
formulate the
formulate the
scoring.
scoring.
This is
This is
something
something
that
that
is
is
business
business
goal
goal
legation,
legation,
or
or
like
like
in the
in the
language of
language
the
of the
stakeholder.
stakeholder.
It
It
makes
makes
them
them
easier for
easier for
them to
them to
understand.
understand.
Um,
Um,
so
so
I'm working
working
then
then
on
on
a
a
voting
voting
dashboard
dashboard
that
that
looks
looks a
a little
little
bit
bit
like
like
this.
this.
On the
On the
top, you
top, you
have the
have the
milestones you
milestones that you
haven't
haven't
voted
voted
on,
on,
and
and
then
then
below
below
here you
here you
have the
have the
milestones
milestones
that you
that you
have
have
voted
voted
on,
on,
so
so
you
you
can
can
hover
hover
over
over
the
the
business
business
details.
details.
Developers
Developers
can
can
do
do
this
this
as
as
well, of
well, of
course, to
course, to
sort of
sort of
get an
get an
indication of
indication of
why
why
this is
this is
valuable.
valuable.
Um, but
But
when
when
I
I
vote,
vote,
you
you
can
can
see
see
that
that
this one
this
has
one has
maximum
maximum
votes,
votes,
and
and
this
this
number
number
here
here
should
should
go
go
between
between
1
1
and
and
100,
100,
and
and
it's
it's
definitely
definitely
not
not
1.
1.
It
It
should
should
be
be
higher.
higher.
There's an
There's an
invalidation
invalidation
that's not
that's not
working.
working.
I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
fix
fix
that
that
later.
later.
So
So
yesterday,
yesterday,
I
I
identified
identified
that
that
we're
we're
actually
actually
not
not
loading
loading
the
the
correct
correct
criteria for
criteria
the
for the
weighted
weighted
scoring.
scoring.
The
The
others
others
are
are
working.
working.
It's the
It's the
weighted
weighted
scoring
scoring
that's
that's
not
not
working.
working.
I
I
also
also
found some
found some
duplicate
duplicate
code that
code that
I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
have to
have to
clean
clean
up.
up.
But
But
the
the
weighted
weighted
scoring
scoring
isn't
isn't
working.
working.
And
And
when I
when I
look
look
at it
at it
more and
more,
more, it
it
looks
looks
like
like
we
we
actually
actually
calculate
calculate
what
what
did
we did
yesterday
yesterday
when we
when we
fetched
fetched
the
the
prioritization
prioritization
criteria
criteria
from the
from the
project.
project.
That's the
That's the
right
right
move,
move,
but
but
this is
this is
actually
actually
not the
not the
format
format
that
that
it's
it's
in.
in.
So
So
what we
what we
need to
need
do
to do
instead
instead
is
is
we
we
need
need
to
to
do
do object
keys,
keys,
uh,
boom, for project prioritization criteria. And then we need to do a map of the key. And now we can actually create the actual output that we want, which is name, weight, and there we go. That should actually be the format that we're looking for. Because we were missing the ID before, and that caused everything to sort of go haywire. Now we're gonna have some issues with typing, so we're just going to add some type validation. And this is because we're currently storing this as a JSON blob in the database. And seemed like a good idea at the time, but I'm not. Yeah. There are some issues with that, but I think it will be fine. Let's do that. There. This is the issue with TypeScript, and especially also when it's like when you're storing JSON blobs. If you don't have the actual structure of it, you need to actually cast it all the time. So this is repetitive. Let's do this instead. Runs project criteria, as record string. There we go, and then hopefully now we can sort of do this. Replace all that, replace all that, and replace all that. See, that should now be more manageable and readable. So, based on this, if we look into the actual calculation, we can go down here, and we can see it will go through the criteria based on the criteria IDs, and normalize it, and then check the value. So hopefully, if I do a vote now, it's 100. And if you do that, 192. There's an invalidation that's not happening there, so we're going to fix that. That's gRPC that, like, once I update the vote, it's not invalidating the previous response, so it's not a biggie. It's more or less a one-liner, but we can see that I'm actually getting the values that I'm expecting. Let's maximize 1. There we go. It's about 30. And 2 should be just above. That should give us, what, 67? There we go. So now we can see that the voting feature is in fact working now. And we can hover over it and see the details of the voting that the stakeholder has been done. So under, you can see my name there. Under that, if more stakeholders have voted, we can see the individual votes. And this is also because it's like the stakeholders should vote openly. It should be a secret vote. The reason for this is same as planning poker. Planning poker is perhaps not the best. It's very time consuming as a process. But the idea is to have a discussion around everything. And at the same time, it's in the same way that developers estimate and have discussions if they think a feature is difficult, hard, or small or large or whatever. That's a healthy discussion to have while planning. In the same way, stakeholders should at least estimate what kind of business value that they think a milestone or a feature have. Because otherwise you're going to spend all this process time of doing project planning or planning out these different features, and if you haven't, if you could have just had a 10-minute discussion before to sort of figure out, is this actually the one that we think we're going to objectively get the most value from? And here you can sort of directly see, okay, the estimate, if everyone has voted, the estimate is 67 business value score, and then you can see it, and then you can see that perhaps one stakeholder thinks that this feature is is
not
not
valuable.
valuable. And that could be either because that feature does not help that individual stakeholder in any way, or it could be that the way the feature is described is actually not a good way to describe the feature. And it's good to catch that early, because if you can't describe the feature to the stakeholders, then you can't describe the feature to the developers, and then you definitely can't describe the features to the customers. So having these healthy discussions is really good. So this is good. We figure out we figured out the issue with the voting. That's worth a commit. Um, and I have roughly 14 minutes before I need to go to work. So let's see if we can get that commit in, just to have it building. Then tomorrow, or in the next session, I'll see if I'll start refactoring, because there is actually quite a lot of refactoring that needs to be done, because I found some duplicate code. And that's not good, because I want all the code to sort of align to one source of truth, especially when it comes to the prioritization. But let's get to the commit in. And before we commit, we actually added some debugging messages yesterday, just some console logs. And that's all we have. Okay, so I always usually do git status. I do a diff so I can see what the difference. We added a to do pair. And what else did we do? Come on, there we go. That's the loading. This is actually a to do as well. We should do that. And we could, we added that to do. So it's three to dos. I don't like having to dos in the code, but these are roughly the refactorings that we'll do in the next session, probably. There we go. And let's do a commit. Fixing the weighted scoring. Still need refactoring. We push that. So I'm currently working on a branch. That means my CI will run in the branch, and I'll get an update over email later. But once this feature is complete, I'll push it to production. And I think that's all we have time for, because I don't have time to start refactoring before I need to go to work. But this is progress. The voting feature is actually working now. I think this is the last bug that I have the invalidation as well. So I'm going to add that to cold path as an issue. And then I will work on the refactoring in the next session. So if you came to see my live coding streaming, thank you for coming in. Please subscribe. I think I'm going to keep live coding this feature, or that's the every session that I do. It's a little bit when I have time before and after work. So it's either roughly this time, or it's in about 12 hours that I'd be live coding again. But I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, like, subscribe, and yeah, that's about it. Thank you.